my first day working at Wyatt Cattaneo, it was immediately after the interview, because I had the interview and I thought they were going to say, can you start next week or something, and it's like, so can you start right now? And oh, okay, yeah, sure can. I can start right now. And he put me to work in this little office, a really cool little office with 3 other people: Jason Ivermy, Gavin Nichols, and Steve something. He was the editor, and they gave me my desk, and and had my scene stacker, and pencils. It was like art supplies. It was like having a whole store for you. It was like it was my first encounter with like office stationery, where you can just take whatever you need. It was amazing. And so I put me to work working on designing this. It was for East Anglia TV, and they wanted this design based on the artist Paul Klee. So Paul Klee has a very geometric, very linear style. It's like shapes. It's very stylized into like geometry. So they wanted to show the passing of time, so I had to make this sun, Paul Klee style, that had revolving kind of flames around it, triangular flames, and that had to morph into a moon. Again, they were kind of a Paul Klee. And I made sure they had the same face, just one was a moon and one was a sun. And that was my first job. And then we went on to make Tetley Teabag commercials, which was amazing. Just making commercials. The thing is that working in commercials, nobody knew you. Nobody had wasn't there weren't credits on commercials. You wouldn't say, oh, animated by. So nobody knew. Everyone knew my work. Everyone I went to school with, or had gone to school with, or had gone to college with, everyone that I had known. And it's not like now where you have the internet. This is pre-internet. So nobody knew any people I spoke to, like verbally stood in front of and spoke to. So that's frustrating as hell, having all this work in front of everyone and nobody knowing it's you. So we did Ribena commercials as well. That was fun, and it was amazing. The Ribenas were perfectly spherical, and we were not allowed to squash them or stretch them. And it's animation, so the round berry comes down, boing, squashes and stretches, and jumps on its way, kind of thing. Yeah. The Ribena came in, and they framed through it. Jump, 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 boom. And I'm like, what's this? Unripe berries? And they threw it out. I was like, no, and we had to do it over without making the berries round. So we ended up, they had arms and legs, so we made the legs kind of chubby. And when they landed, the legs became really squashed and bowed out, and then and stretched out when they went on. So we put all the squash and stretch in the legs, because they even gave us one of those plastic things, the templates with the different size circles. I'm like, okay, let's use that. Come on. So very particular. And I remember as well in the Tetley tea bags. It was always on a packet like this, They're either this or they're this. They're not this, they're this or this. So we tried animating these guys, and they're like, what's this? Where's this gone? So he's like, they had to speak, but they always had to be happy. And they always had to quickly go to this side, over here. And if you had to turn around, they could go 3/4. They allowed 3/4 away, but you had to go quickly through the profile. So it was funny. It was a great experience because you got to do everything in Wyatt Cattaneo. When the paint and trace department were, we need help. I learned how to paint and trace, and this is when you had to get the paint the right thinness. It couldn't be too thick. If it was too thick, it would dry with lines on the cell. You had to paint on the cells, and if it was too thin, you see brush strokes. So the tiny little brushes, and you had to get just the right. You end up knowing exactly the right consistency, so it pushes the paint across, and you never let it dry. You keep pushing it all the way across till you get to the other edge, and that way you get it all flat. It's all flat when it dries. So but you got to learn that, and then you got thrown into storyboarding. So I got to do storyboarding, and storyboarding for Portugal. It was a 2D creme. It looked the grossest storyboard because it was meant to be chocolate spread, but with bears eating it. But it was really hard to make it not look gross. It's chocolate spread. Anyway, their existing commercial looked really gross. It was like duty special. It was really gross. I can understand why they wanted it redone. They came to us and you have to help us. It's got really bad reviews. I go, yeah, I see why. It looks gross. I said, first of all, I don't think we need the bears eating. They should all be about the product, but maybe not eating it. So anyway, the team, I went on vacation at the time to Greece or somewhere, and when I came back, they were still working on it. Wow, they're still working on it. They're still working on character designs. I was like, oh, great, character design. I love character design. Let's do some character. No, you got to do storyboards. So I do the storyboards. I did one, and back then, if it was a 30-second commercial, it was 16 drawings. And of the 16, the first one was always the packet or the title, your opening shot. And the last one was always the product with, the packaging, the product. And you had just 14 jumps, and they made us stick to that because that was the nicest flow for 30 seconds. And so you had to board out this idea for 2D creme, and it involved a canoe race or something. And then my boss was really good. He was really good at selling campaigns. If someone came and said, we have this commercial we'd like it. He described the commercial, but then he described what they gained if it was successful. They would have like a running. They could come back if it was really successful. They could come back and they could continue the campaign. He always looked at more, And he was really good at selling people on that. So he's like, you have to do multiple boards. We'll send them this one with a canoe, but come up with some more ideas. So came up with 3 other ideas, and the greatest thing was it was really fun boarding, and you got to a point where you boarded. There was no design for the character. They were working on design. So my design was like 2 sticks for the eyes, and there were 3 little sticks for the hair, a couple of ears. It was very easy, kind of pear-shaped, big nose, big mouth, and I drew this little bear. And when they came back from Portugal, they had all these stacks of character designs from these guys, because they've been working all the time I was there, plus the time I was on vacation, so 2 weeks extra. All this stuff went over. They rejected every character design. They said, no, but we love the one in the storyboard. So that became the character on all these products. Was my crappy little stick figure kind of version. Not stick figure, but very crude design. I must find a picture of it somewhere. Put it up with this. The other great shows, like nobody knew what I was working on. There's people in Germany that knew me from the commercials I made. I went over there to Stuttgart Film Festival. I attended. I was in I'd won an award for Best of British or something like that. And so I went to Stuttgart. I thought, oh great, I get to practice my German, because we made so many commercials for Germany. It was worth learning German. And we did lots of commercials for Switzerland, so it's worth learning German for that. So I get to practice my German, and I went over there. I got talking to a guy, and he was just chat. And someone asked me what I did, and I told him. And usually people didn't know what even animation was back then. If you said you're an animator, I'd be like, what's that? Like an aviator? No, an animator. What is that? You have to explain what you did. Like scratching their heads. And then you say, like, take the tea bags, But I said to this German guy, like Schwäbisch Hall, and he's Schwäbisch Hall, and then all the barriers like broke through the ice, blah blah blah, and chat. Nicest guy. And then in Switzerland, I designed this fox. It was Topsy the fox, and they liked my drawings, so I actually drew the final artwork for their stickers and their colouring books for kids and savings pouches, and it was fun working there. I worked for there for 5 years. It was fun just because you got to do all these different aspects tied in with animation. You got to do everyone's job, so you became like a jack of all trades in some ways. If anyone needed some help. I did backgrounds at one time where you have to paint the backgrounds. My first background, I failed. Did my first background, and maybe artistically you'd be like, there's nothing wrong with that. And I was thinking, that's nothing wrong with that. It's a nice watercolour. And then my boss came over and made me redo it, to redraw it all on watercolour paper. And he made me use, saturated green. And I'm like, oh yeah, I get it. It's commercials. It's not real life. It's not realism. It's not those kind of greys and like a rainy day. It has to be sunny. It has to be vibrant. It has to be like in your face colours. And so it was a great learning experience. Like I remember when I did colouring books. I did in my past. I did drawing. I thought there's nothing wrong with this picture. It had all the characters were on model. It went across 2 pages. It had loads of different things going on, like detail areas and spaces. And he said, no, you got your lines are coming together. You couldn't have 4 lines meet. It always had to be a straight T. Like if you did clouds, it would have to be, everything had to be a straight T. It had to be like this. You couldn't have anything like complicated like this, a line intersecting 3 or 4 ways. You had to offset that bounce so that it missed to those other 2 lines. It went to one side or the other to redraw. So you had people like have areas. It wasn't like pinches. It's funny. It's like I'd never have known that had I not been asked to do colouring books. You learn the hard way. But that was a great job. I wouldn't have left there, but they closed the company. It was the greatest job, and you think, wow, I'm going to be here forever, and this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to work for this company and be here forever. And, when it was about 5 years, just under 5 years, and they said, we're selling the company, we're closing up, and you get your redundancy, you get your 1 month pay, and then you're out. And the worst thing was, in that 1 month, I had a vacation to Turkey to go to. And so it was like, it was really hard not thinking about the future. This kind of like this one job that luckily landed in my lap. It really did. That postcard, it was like lucky. People ask me now, how did you get your first job? Like I can give them something and they can learn, oh, I'm going to try that. But everything that I experienced was pure random luck. I mean, it happened after I'd even given up. And it's not like you can say, oh, just go and have random luck, and that'll help that person. I really wish I had a better answer, but that's my story. That's how I got my first job. That's what happened. It was a great job, and yeah, it set me up for America.